Hey there, it's Jen. Thanks for tuning in. I am going to tell you what I do to keep my foundation looking flawless all day, and the steps I do go through to get that flawless finish. Okay, I get asked the question a lot. Hey, your foundation always looks so good. How do you keep your foundation on all day? How do you make it look so smooth? So I'm going to tell you some of the tips I have. First tip is you want to make sure you are exfoliating your face at least once or twice a week. I usually do about once or twice. Some people do 2 to 3 times. It's really up to you and your skin type. I use a mask that has jojoba. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. It's Jojoba beads in it, so it's a little bit gritty. It has lemon extract in it too, so it smells super good. But that just helps to roll away impurities and help gently exfoliate that skin. Okay, so I do that about once or twice a week. I moisturize twice a day. Okay, I use facial oils, I use serum, I use moisturizer. That's key to giving your face, your skin, that texture that's really going to help that foundation look smooth and flawless. Okay, the next thing I do is I use face primer. I prefer a spray primer for the simple reason it feels a lot lighter to me. A lot of the moisturizing cream primers feel like I have an extra layer on, so I like the spray because it's a lot lighter. Okay, then the next thing I do is I put a darker concealer, not darker, but more of an orangey concealer under my eyes first. Okay, and the reason why I do that is to help cover up some of those that dark circle that I got going on there. Okay, so if you have really dark, you want to go with more of like an orangey color because that'll help neutralize that darkness. Now, if you're not going to wear eyeshadow, which I do, you can put concealer up here too, because you see how my lids are really dark. If I was not going to be wearing eyeshadow, I would put that concealer up there as well. So I'm just going to pat that in with my finger. I use a wax-based concealer. So a little goes a long way. And it's also water resistant, which is amazing if you sweat a lot. Like I wear my makeup to work out. So it definitely helps that it's water resistant. But a wax base is going to sit on top of your skin versus seeping into your pores. And then you can just blend that around with a brush or a sponge. This is I only just start using this brush. It's a Morphe brush, and I really like it. I really like it for blending my concealer and foundation together. Okay, so then the next thing I do is I take my foundation, and I also use a wax-based foundation. When you use a wax-based foundation, you want to warm it up. But again, the reason why I like the wax-based foundation is because it sits on top of my skin, it doesn't seep in, and it feels very natural. It doesn't make my face feel heavy or caked on. Okay, and I use a beauty blender, and I make it damp first because it really helps to spread that around. It helps it go on a lot smoother. You can use a brush. A lot of people use brushes. It's just what your personal preference is. And you're just going to pat it. Now, if you're using a cream or a liquid foundation, you may have to rub that in a little bit more, but with the wax base, you just want to pat it around. When you're picking a color for a foundation, you really want to make sure, a lot of people make the mistake of matching their face or their arm to their foundation color when they're picking. And what you want to do is you're going to be putting this all over your face. So you don't want it to be the same color as your face because you're covering that color on your face. So if your face is really red, you're not going to go find a red foundation. You want your foundation to match your neck and chest, okay? Because you want it to look seamless and flawless and blend right down in. So if your chest is a more pink based, you would go with a more pink based foundation. If your skin is a more yellow undertone to it, you're going to go with a more yellow foundation. So you're just gonna pat that all around. And you see I didn't wipe off my concealer, I just patted it over top of my concealer. Go up here around the hairline, and then down here around the neck, I'm gonna pat it here in the jawline, and then I'm just gonna wipe it down in. Because this is the only time I wipe, is because I want to transition it from my face into my neck, okay? Now, my neck looks a little red there, but that's just because I took a hot shower. So, once you have that all patted in, you just want to make sure you get all around. The nice thing with a wax-based foundation is that if you want it more of a fuller coverage, you could go back in over top of this and build on top of it. Or if you wanted a very sheer coverage, you would just go in with a little bit and spread that all around. I gotta get around my nose ring here. And then what I do this. I go right underneath here, and I always just rub like that gently, just to give that extra blend into my neck, okay? And then once that is how I want it to be, I would go in, I would do my eyes next, but then I just want to show you the foundation. I would go ahead and do my eyes, but then I would take a lighter concealer, like a highlighting color, and I would go right in here. Now, if you're younger, you can go out a little farther, but if you are over the age of 35 and you don't want to highlight your crow's feet and fine lines and wrinkles, this trick helps. I just recently learned this and started trying it, and I really like it. It's just pat that lighter color right in there, and then anywhere else you want to highlight. So I always like to highlight my chin, right above my lip, right down the tip of my nose, and then I make like an upside down triangle here. Okay, and then if you were going to contour, you could add some right down in here, and then go in with your contour color wherever you would want to contour. Okay, now on this part, once I have my highlighted areas on, I take a small brush and I just blend that around. And it's just going to highlight those areas, and then same thing in here with my nose, or underneath my eye, I'm sorry. I'm going to pull that out and then gently just wipe a little bit of that up to the corner of my eye. So the bulk of that is going to be in here, so it's going to draw people's attention into the inner part of my face and not to my fine lines and wrinkles. And I always do like a little bit of an upside down triangle here too. And then, if you're using a brush to do this, I always go back over it with my Beauty Blender and just dab really quick, just to cover up any potential brush strokes that I may have from that blender brush. Okay? And you can see how even that looks, how flawless that looks. And then you want, after you have your foundation on, you have to set it, okay? There's a couple ways that you can set it. You can set it with a translucent powder. And what I mean by translucent powder is a powder that's white, but it goes on clear, okay? So you can take that translucent powder and you can just put that right on over, okay? It's not going to change the color. It's going to take away the shine. So if you're very shiny, like you see how I'm shiny, part of that is because of the oils I use. Before I did this, I didn't let them really have time to soak in, but you can use that to cover up shine, but it also sets and locks in that foundation and concealer. You can use a time setting spray. I use both. Okay, so I go over with the powder. I use the translucent powder, but I often use, let me see if I have it out here, a color powder. Okay, and when I use a color powder, I use two colors. I use a darker color and a lighter color. So everywhere where I would have highlighted with that concealer, I go over with that lighter color. And then all the other areas, I go over with the darker color. Okay, that helps to give my face dimension, but this also helps set that foundation. Then, once I have all the powder on, my eyes are done, blush is done, I go over it with a spray. Okay, a time setter spray such as this is amazing. This is like the best I've ever used. But you want to spray your face, let that dry, and guess what? Your foundation should be there all day long. Okay, and if you find it sliding off, it probably has something to do with the products you're using or not using before you apply the foundation. So those are my tips on this flawless foundation look. If you have any questions, you can send me a message and I'll be sure to reach back to you.